Now, unique constraint is used to ensure that all values in a column or group of columns are unique across all the rows um, in the table. This means that there is no two rows that can have the same values in specified columns. But a unique constraint helps to maintain data integrity by preventing duplicate entries in the database. All right. So let's see if we can do an example. Let's say we have a table called users. Suppose you have a table called users. So when you want to ensure that the email address for each user is unique, you can enforce this rule using the unique constraint. So we'll create a new table here. We'll create a table, and I just want to push this down so that you can actually see. Create table users, and then in the table we're going to have the user ID is the primary key, and it's also identity, and then we're going to have the email, which is of varying characters. Let's just make it 255, and it's also a constraint. And then we can just say unique user email, and then we put the unique constraint there. Maybe let's have the full name again. All right. So now let's insert some data there. So we're gonna insert into users, and then we're gonna insert the email, and then we're gonna insert the full name. And then the values, of course, will be, let's say it's email is gonna be j.doe at gmail.com. Then the full name will be Jane Doe. Jane Doe. Okay, so let's select all from table from users. All right, so if we execute, then we can see there's nothing wrong with this. But now let's see what happens if we insert another user with the same email. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm just going to comment the table creation, and this time I'm going to insert John, and then I'm not going to, let's just say John Smith, and I'm not going to change. Okay, let's leave it John Doe, because the email is just say j.doe@gmail.com. All right, so if we execute this time, we get a violation, says a violation of unique key constraint. User email cannot insert a duplicate key in the object users. The duplicate key value is j.doe, so meaning it already exists in the database. We can't really insert the same email again because each person will have their own unique email. Same goes with the ID numbers, your social ID numbers. They're actually unique. They only belong to you. So no other person will actually have the same ID numbers as yours. So that is the unique constraint. So the first insert succeeded, right? Because the email address is unique. So, and then the second statement actually failed because it already exists in the table. Thus, you're violating the unique constraint. Okay, so now the second example that we want to do is to add a unique constraint in multiple or combination of columns. Imagine maybe you've got a table called employee shifts. So where you want to ensure that the employee cannot be assigned to the same shift more than once. So you can use the unique constraint on the combination of employee ID and the shift ID. Now, let's quickly do that example. So again, I'm just gonna comment this one, Control K, Control C, in case you want the shortcut for commenting. Then we will create a new table called employee shifts. Employee shifts. And then in this employee shifts, we're gonna have the employee ID, employee ID. Just gonna make it an integer, and then I'm gonna make a shift ID, which is also an integer. Then perhaps we'll have the shift date or assignment date, date, which is the date type. And then we will add that constraint unique employee shift, and then this is going to be unique, unique employee ID, and then shift ID. Okay, so ensure that you've got the correct spelling on your when you reference that. Now let's insert into employee shifts. Insert into employee shifts, and then we want to insert the employee ID, then we want to insert the shift ID, and then we also want to insert the assignment date, and the values can be, so let's make the values, let's say the values is 1, and then 102, and then let's say 24 2024. Remember the date, it's a year, month, and a day. So 2024-02, and then tomorrow's date, which is 20. Maybe you will be doing a shift tomorrow. So because this is a date, so we'll have to actually do that. Let's make this 101. Let's actually make it 101, and then we can just close this now, and let's select from the employee shifts, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to just copy this again, and I'm going to change the employee shift, which is 102, and then the date to 21. But notice the employee ID is the same, it's 1. Okay, and let's go ahead and execute and see what we get. Let's see if we can insert the employee in the same shift. So what I'm gonna do, let's just comment some of the things out. Control K, Control C to comment, so remember that, and then we're just gonna copy only this one here, and then let's just paste it below. So here we want to uh, let's say the shift, remember we already have the shift ID 101. So I'm going to say shift ID 101, but this time it must be done on the 22nd. Just changing not a lot. The same employee one. So let's see what happens now. If we execute, then we get an error. It says violation of the unique key constraint, cannot insert duplicate key in the object. The duplicate key is 1 and 101. So the first two inserts that we've done, it succeeded because each combination of the employee ID and the shift ID is unique. Now the third insert, it failed because it attempts to insert a duplicate employee ID and a shift ID combination, thus just violating that unique constraint. So the unique constraint is essential for ensuring that data is unique in SQL Server, and it can be applied to a single column or a combination of columns to prevent duplicate entries. So this constraint is particularly useful for maintaining the integrity of data in the fields that require uniqueness, things like email addresses, usernames, composite keys, social ID numbers, and etc.